Hello, welcome back. This video will discuss methods in arrays and what we can do to kind of help us out when we're using arrays as a data structure. So if you've already watched the video on arrays, you saw how to set it up and how to access elements using their index, which starts at 0 and ends with a length -1. The length was a property, so we'll look at that again. And also we'll look at some methods that exist in the array class. So the first thing we can do is, if we know the name of the variable that the array is stored in, that will be the object. So if we wanted to show this, we're just going to learn it like we've been doing. So if you wanted to use a method, you would just first need to know the name of the method. So again, a quick Google search of array methods in JavaScript will give you a bunch, but I will show you a couple. So we're going to use array2 here for this first one, and I am going to use a method called sort. So sort actually will sort from decreasing order to increasing order, and my object is the name of the array that the variable is using, the dot operator, and then the method. And if you look it up, it'll tell you that it doesn't actually take any parameters. So if I save this and I refresh it, you can see now my array that was 8, 6, 7, 5, 0, and 9 is now 3, 0, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So pretty simple that you can sort something that way. You can also sort things with strings or any combination thereof. So array r3 dot sort will attempt to sort this set of strings, and you'll see that it goes Abe, Bob, Jim, Joe, Sue. So it goes alphabetically. One thing to know that this is using ASCII. So if you did Bob with a lowercase b and you save this, you'll notice that it will do Abe, Jim, Joe, Sue, and then Bob, because the letter B, the lowercase letter b in ASCII has a larger value than the capital letters, so it'll always come at the end. So if you want it to always be the same, then you could, when you're taking input or inputting in, just make sure that it's cased correctly, like we did in the string method video. So there's a couple other things, right? Maybe you want to take what you just sorted and reverse it. So you want it organized from largest to smallest. You can actually just attach another method here, and there's one called reverse, which also does not take any parameters. So if I save this and refresh it, you will see that it sorts it first, so it's in order of smallest to largest, and then I reversed it, so now it's 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 5, 3, 0. So, and then you have your names again. So I wanted to reverse the list without sorting it. I can just take away the sort. So for this one, I'm going to take my original list and just put it out in reverse. If I save and refresh, you will now see it goes Abe, Jim, Joe, Sue, Bob, which is the reverse order of how I originally set it up, how they were by index. And you'll notice that we didn't save these back into themselves. So unlike string methods, instead of just returning a string, this actually changes the array. So if you use sort or reverse, or you remove something using a method, it's going to be gone forever. So just keep that in mind when you're doing some of these things. So a couple others that I'll show you is how to add and subtract things from the beginning and the end, and adding stuff in the middle of an array. And the nice thing is, if you do this, instead of just replacing something, it'll actually act like an accordion and stretch these things out. So what you could do here is you could do, let's do array2, and you can actually take something off the end or the beginning. And the ways that you're going to do that is going to be by using the method pop, which also does not take any parameters. So if you wanted to print this, you can see what happens. I'm going to comment these out so I don't have to see them every single time. So if I refresh this, you will see that it is now 8, 6, 7, 5, 3, 0, and you'll notice 9 is gone. This actually does return a value to you. This returns a value 9. So if you want to keep that or put it somewhere else, you could, right? So if you wanted to pop this off and put it onto another list or save it in a variable, you could. And the way that you can attach something to the end, so the opposite of pop, is by using something called push. So maybe in one step, we could take this variable that we popped off one and push it onto the other array. So that would be my array3 dot push. And then my parameters for this one could be whatever is being popped off the other one. So I can pop 9 off here, and then I can push it onto this. So hopefully that shows up after Abe. You can say my array 3. So again, if you ever forget what these parameters are or what it returns, just again, a quick search on a site like W3 Schools will give you that information. So I lost 9 on this one, but I pushed it onto this one. So popping takes it off and returns the current value that was there. Pushing puts it back on. So we can also do this to the beginning of the array. So to do it to the beginning of the array, it's very similar, except the words are shift and unshift. So if we wanted to shift something, then we would attach something at the beginning at index 0, but then we would push everything over, increasing their index by 1. So you could do something like my array 2 dot shift. And to shift something, you also want to say, what do you want to put in that first location? So I want to put in, let's just put in the word shift so we can see it. And then we can alert my array 2. So the first 2 will still happen the same way if I refresh this. And then you'll see that this one says 6753. So that actually took 1 away. So I was mistaken. This should be unshift. So unshift actually puts something at the beginning. Shifting over means you take away the first thing and then shift everything over to the left. So my array.unshift, and then putting shift in there will say put this at the first place, and then unshift it means move everything back over to the right. Even if you never shifted it, this would be unshift. So if you wanted to say unshift, you could. So we could also do this with shift, which you just saw remove the very first thing. So if you want to do my array 3 dot shift, that one actually does not take any parameters, and then you could alert that. So this should take array 3, which you'll see as the second thing. So my array 3 currently looks like Bob, Sue, Joe, Jim, Abe, 9. So then this was the shift, and then if I look at it again, now it's Sue, Joe, Jim, Abe, 9. So we lost Bob, so it got shifted off. This also could be saved, right? So if you wanted to save this as a variable, or if you wanted to unshift this onto this one, you could. So if I wanted to take that first thing, I could shift it from one to the other. So take it off the beginning of one and put it on the beginning of another. And there's an error somewhere in here. So if you ever run into an error, you can inspect, and I see my error right now, it's a semicolon, but you could always go to your console and look at what your error is going to be. And it tells me line 13, there's something wrong. So make sure you don't have double semicolons. Make sure you save it first. So now when you run this, you'll see it's Bob, Sue, Joe, Jim, Abe, 9, and the next one, Bob got shifted off the first one and put onto the next one. And then it's gone in this one. One more that we'll look at is called Splice. So if you want to put something in the end, you could do that as well. I am going to remove this stuff just so I don't have all this extra stuff here. So Splice, you're going to be able to put something in the middle of it. So if you wanted to add a name, but you wanted to add it to the third location, so this would be index 0, 1, so you want to add it to the second location, you could say my array 3 dot splice. So like you cut a piece of rope and then attach a new rope and then splice the 2 ends together so you have a longer rope. This has a couple different ways. You can also take things away this way. But the first one is going to be at what position do you want to do it. The second parameter is going to be how many things do you want to add or remove. So I want to add just one thing. And what do I want to add? I want to add, we'll say this. So splice, again, you can look up these things because there's a lot of different things you can do. And you can alert this. And you'll notice that at spot 2, you should have the word this concatenated in there. And now we have Bob, Sue, and then this, and then Jim, and Abe. And again, if you have any questions, you can always look these up to see what they do. W3 Schools is a great site to look at. There's some other ones that are called split and things like that. So you can play around with that. And in the next video, we will look at how we can create our own functions.